Hey, Steelers fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to our Pittsburgh Steelers news and review video here on a Monday. And while everyone else is talking about Chris Rock and Will Smith last night, I want to jump in with the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news and rumors to fill your workday with some actual fun, because sports are fun and sitting at a desk is not. So let's jump into the beginning topic of the day, and that is Kendrick Green potentially being moved over to guard. So this is a quick little story, but it's something that is gaining traction right now inside, I think, the Steelers organization, starting with the idea that, of course, Green struggled very much at center this past season. That was no hot debate. It's not a hot take. You just look at the Pro Football Focus grades or throw on the highlights, and you see that Green very much struggled at center. Now, Pittsburgh obviously saw this, and they signed Mason Cole to the obviously to the roster to be the starting center of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now Mike Tomlin is flirting with the idea of potentially moving Green back to guard and potentially, hopefully, helping out his career, because you either sit behind Mason Cole or you produce at a different position, and so moving over to guard makes a lot of sense. Here is kind of your current Steelers offensive line, and obviously things can change a lot, but Cole taking over the center position does make it kind of hard for trying to figure out where Green's at. And so, is he going to be a depth guy? You assume James Daniels, has the right guard position completely locked up, and then does Kevin Dotson stay at left guard? That's the expectation. So maybe it's a depth thing, maybe it's a competition thing, but too many offensive linemen has never been an issue for any team in the National Football League. And so keeping Green, who is a young player, over at one spot, potentially the ability to move back if there are injuries, is always a good thing. And so keep an eye on this as we obviously get closer to OTAs and training camp, moving Green to guard and kind of switching up a much needed, or I think much improved after the offseason, offensive line. Drop a like down below if you guys think the O-line will be better next season. I think 100%. The starting line you saw on your screen there is going to be a lot better. Give this video a thumbs up if you think it will be really good, maybe even top 15 in the NFL. All right, let's move on to another story, an ongoing story here, not only at Chat Sports, but in the Steelers organization. What's going to happen with Tyrann Mathieu? There was a mailbag video we dropped on Sunday talking about how, Pittsburgh is in. Ongoing for Tyrann Mathieu, there were some people on Twitter saying that they're out, some people saying they're in, and so what's the official word on Mathieu? Well, there are different reports, and again, conflicting stuff, but I think the Steelers are not interested in Tyrann Mathieu, or at least out on potentially signing him. Now, this all stems from, of course, GM Kevin Colbert, who was interviewed at the NFL meetings a couple of days ago, and he didn't, directly say they were out on Tyrann Mathieu, but as you'll see, they seem to be very much out on signing players over the age of 30, and that's where you kind of put on your little tinfoil hat and you go, oh, Mathieu turns 30 before the start of the season, and even though a lot of Steeler fans want him, I don't know if he's the right fit for everyone in Pittsburgh. So here was the quote, very short, from GM Kevin Colbert about the whole, signing players over 30, and again, it doesn't say yes or no on Mathieu, but it is interesting. Throw it up on your screen. Quote, "Our preference is always to add players coming off of their first contract or as close to their first contract as they can be," end quote. Well, let's do the math here. First contract. Let's see. Tyrann Mathieu is on his fifth contract, or will be his fifth contract with whatever team he signs here in 2022. Now, again, this doesn't guarantee that they're not going to get Tyrann Mathieu. I put this video out, and then tomorrow they sign him, and it's like, oh my gosh, Thomas said they wouldn't do it. But I'm trying to use my 8-ball, use my crystal ball here, and go, okay, Colbert just said, when asked about this, they want to sign people close to their first contract. Matthew's over the age of 30, and he's close to his fifth contract. It just doesn't make sense in terms of what the Steelers are trying to do. Again, doesn't mean that they won't, but I would make it I'd be a little surprised if they went ahead and signed Mathieu at this point. Now, there are plenty of safeties in the draft. Obviously, they still need to upgrade the safety position, but this is a very deep and very strong safety class. Starting with Kyle Hamilton, obviously out of Notre Dame. More on him in a second. He is your perennial first-round draft pick. There are a lot of guys that will go in round 2. Jalen Petrie out of Baylor is a second-round guy through and through. Daxton Hall out of Michigan. Jaquan Brisker out of Penn State. How about Lewis Sine off the championship dog team at UGA? There are a lot of safeties, I think, that'll go within the first 2, 3, 4 rounds in the NFL draft. Hamilton is the cream of the crop, though. His cover grade is absolutely fantastic during his time at Notre Dame. The problem with him is he's not going to fall to 20. Now, he's going to fall out of the top 10, in my opinion, because of all the quarterback drama that's going to happen with Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett going inside the top 10. Like, quarterbacks always go higher than we originally thought, and so he's going to fall a little bit. The question will be, is Pittsburgh in a position where they want to trade up to go ahead and get him, because I don't think he'll be there at number 20. Ad break, pin comment down below, answer this. How bad do you want Tyrann Mathieu, right? I just kind of poo-pooed everyone's thoughts on getting Tyrann Mathieu, even though it doesn't guarantee that they won't, but let me know how bad you want him on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm going to gauge the Steeler fans down below right now. All right, speaking of those quarterbacks, we mentioned Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett. What about Desmond Ridder? Now, Desmond Ridder is kind of he's not the wild card of this draft, but he feels like the wild card of this draft at the quarterback spot because he has a lot of success, but he also is a little bit, in terms of size, a little small, at least, muscular-wise, in terms of weight to be an NFL quarterback, and he's not a first-round guy, but he could be a first-round guy, and he has a great arm and also some mobility. There are too many questions about Desmond Ridder. Well, Pittsburgh is very much trying to answer these questions right now as they send 8 Steeler personnel to the Desmond Ridder Pro Day that happened just a couple of days ago. Now, Pittsburgh did sign quarterback Mitch Trubisky last week. However, the Steelers definitely seem to be doing their homework on drafting a quarterback, which kind of tells me that they're still in the market to go ahead and grab one to sit behind Trubisky and potentially be the future and not the present quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, SI.com has a really good write-up on the Steelers at Ridder's Pro Day. Throw it up on your screen right now. Quote, the Steelers spent a ton of time speaking with him at his Pro Day. He spoke to Tomlin at least twice in the bubble that I saw, and he spoke with Colbert at least 3 times. Steelers quarterback coach Mike Sullivan and offensive coordinator Matt Canada watched him as he warmed up prior to his throwing session. If you're just judging interest by the amount of conversations and number of eyes on him, the Steelers were the favorite yesterday, end quote. So, does this mean, just like the Tyrann Mathieu stuff, that they're for sure going to draft Desmond Ridder? No, it doesn't, but they're definitely doing their research and their homework right now, and he could make sense. You don't have to spend a first-round draft pick on Ridder. You could trade up in the second round and get him there, and then the expectations for him to start are tampered a little bit. You can start Mitch Trubisky, and then in the future, roll in Ridder whenever he's ready to go, because much like the rest of these NFL quarterbacks we've talked about, not many of them, I don't think any of them, are really NFL Week 1 ready in 2022. Do you guys have a favorite quarterback in the 2022 draft class? Is there one that sticks out to you above the rest? I'm starting to fall in love with Matt Corral. I love Malik Willis, but Corral to me seems to be a very interesting option for anybody who wants a quarterback in the middle of the first round. Who's your favorite quarterback in 2022? Let me know down below right now. Now, of course, whoever the Steelers draft to be their next quarterback, or whoever they take in the first round, will be wearing the new Steeler official NFL draft hats, which just dropped right now, and you guys can pick them up right now at chatsports.com/Steeler draft hat. Multiple styles. Got the flat bill, the snapback. You got the normal, baseball cap. They're all coming in all different sizes and all different shapes, and all the ones that, of course, will be worn by everyone drafted by the Steelers coming up a month from today, as the draft is literally a month from today, March 28th, going forward to April 28th up there in Vegas. Chatsports.com/Steelers draft hat. Pick yours up right now. The link will be down below in the description box. All right, final thoughts here in terms of quarterbacks. Malik Willis, again, continues to draw a lot of speculation about how high he could potentially go in the NFL draft. And the Steel Curtain had a good write-up on, still drafting a quarterback, and they put in Willis here, for instance, but any quarterback, despite taking Mitch Trubisky, as we just talked about. Quote, the Steelers are still a potential landing spot for Willis, and they are not the only team in the NFL that could select him. Many of the teams that need a quarterback are slotted ahead of them in the draft. The Steelers really want Willis. They'll mostly have to go up to get him, since there are several other teams who could feel the same way about him, end quote. Hence why I started with the Ridder conversation, because Ridder, kind of like Sam Howell and Carson Strong, they're not going to go in the first round. And so if you really like Malik Willis, you got to go up and get him, which will take draft capital, and you got to move up, and then it creates quarterback controversy in your quarterback room with all these guys that are currently signed, including Trubisky, who's presumably the starter Week 1. Ridder makes a little bit more sense if you want to just to keep it cool, keep it chill, and let this guy kind of build and mold behind the other quarterbacks, and then you don't rush him to start. So whether it turns out to be Malik Willis or Ridder or somebody else or nobody, it's going to be interesting to see what the Steelers do in terms of their Week 1 starting quarterback. That's a good question to end on, though. Who starts a quarterback for the Steelers Week 1? Is it Ridder? Is it Malik Willis? Is it Mason Rudolph? Is it Mitch Trubisky? Is it Dwayne Hatt? They got a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of guys trying to figure out who's going to be the next star in Pittsburgh. Who do you think starts Week 1 for the Steelers? Let me know in the comments section. All right, ultimate today on our Pittsburgh Steelers news and video. I'm your host, Thomas Mott. Follow me on Twitter at @RealThomasMott. Good place to follow because shameless plug. We tweet a lot of stuff, retweet a lot of stuff, and like a lot of stuff about your Pittsburgh Steelers. And of course, give the channel a subscribe, hitting the red button, because we do a mailbag video every single week, and we will answer your mailbag questions that are posted on this video coming up the next couple of days. Use the hashtag Steelers in the comments section right now. All right, ultimate today on our Pittsburgh Steelers news and video. I'm your host, Thomas Mott, signing off to the rest of your day.